It's a total mind shift and change. You know, when you know that one of your advisors is trying to move out of the mom's basement, there you go. When you know another one of your advisors ultimately wants to be a service manager, what do you do when you do that? When you have an advisor want your job? I personally, I would embrace the shit out of it. I'm like, you want my job? Yes. Here we go. Let's write that out. Let's define what that's going to look like for you to get to where I am right now.
For freshly brewed discussion on automotive sales and marketing, this is Coffee with Jason. The Coffee with Jason podcast is sponsored by Closer's Coffee. For that full-bodied, rich, sweet flavor with a bright acidity, drink Closer's Coffee, stay caffeinated, and keep on closing. Find out more at closerscoffee.ca.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here with Digital Dealership Solutions. Hey, thanks for joining me another episode of Coffee with Jason. Today I have my guest, Kiernan, all the way from Australia. Thank you so much for taking the time to come jam with me today, Kiernan. I really appreciate that.
Thanks for having me on, Jason. We've been forward to this for a while.
Yeah, I know we've been trying to schedule this. I'm really happy that we're able to do this. And there's so many similarities as far as the operations in Australia and the operations here. It's so nice to finally connect. I've done a couple podcasts actually with a couple Aussies, so it's actually nice to do. But you're actually not Aussie, so that's actually even you're originally. Actually, let's do that. We'll start there. Let's start with kind of that 2-minute origin story that is Kiernan, and then we'll just go right into what we want to talk about today.
No worries at all. So yeah, by my accent, you'll probably figure out I'm not Australian. I'm from the other side of the world, from a little country called Ireland. I grew up in Ireland and I made my way to Australia about 6.5 years ago. Prior to that, I graduated from Cork Institute of Technology with a degree in automotive engineering, moved into working with BMW in Ireland and also Nissan, and met my lovely wife about 10 years ago. She's Australian. She brought me back over here about 6.5 years ago. And in that time, I've done a few different roles in after sales, predominantly in the automotive industry. Anywhere from parts to service to fix ups. And now I'm based at BMW Australia as a trainer. So yeah, training in after sales, loving what I do, get to inspire people every single day. And I love what I do. So, yeah.
But after sales, there's just such a big part of my heart in the after sales. You know, it's from a marketing, because I run a marketing agency. We focus so much time on the acquisition of a customer, and unfortunately, our industry doesn't spend enough time maintaining the relationship after the acquisition. And there's just such a substantial amount of value in that, but it comes down into our training. We just simply don't train on that. We don't create processes that yield us the opportunity to create relationships. And we had an opportunity to talk a little bit about this before we started. So I think that's a great place for us to start. What are your thoughts and opinions on that?
I've always been told that after sales, sell the second car and the third one. Like once sales sell the original vehicle, it's up to service and the service advisors to sell the next car and to build enough value in the dealership. Make sure that customer goes nowhere else for the next car, and they'll come straight to the service advisor saying, "What do you recommend? What's good out there right now? What do you recommend?" And refer to another salesperson or whatever it is. It's the responsibility of the service advisor to sell the next car, 100%. And in terms of training, again, in after sales, we've been doing the same thing over and over and over, rinse, repeat, for the last 20, 30 years, let's be honest, at least. And I saw a post on LinkedIn the other day. It was like, it was a video of Steve Jobs in 1984 with a floppy disk, putting it into his Macintosh computer, releasing the new Macintosh back in 1984. And at the bottom of the post, it said, "And we're still using technology from 1859, which is the internal combustion engine, in our motor cars in 2019.
Yep.
And the hashtag was innovate. And for me, innovating is what we should be constantly doing, aspiring to be better tomorrow than we are today in everything we do, processes, systems, people, and not just staying the same. And that really frustrates me when people have not got a desire to perform better tomorrow than they do today.
Well, let's go a little farther into that. You know, the innovation of our people. I mean, look, as far as the dealership goes, we do this amazing job of merchandising our assets, for consumers to consume. We'll take videos of our cars. We will shoot 30, 40, 50 pictures of the vehicle that someone could potentially buy. But one of the things that make us so unique, all right, the asset that we have that makes us so unique, we spend almost no time actually merchandising, and those are our individuals, our people, the people that work for us. I mean, look, at the end of the day, your transaction in the front of the dealership is going to happen one time, right? And then the next X amount of transactions. Actually, I'm curious. I don't know if you know the stat or not, but I'm just curious for BMW and where you guys are. What is the average amount of transactions that happen after sales for consumer?
In terms of frequency to after sales?
Yeah.
I don't have the exact stats on that, but again, we have got service inclusive packages.
Yep.
Whereby a customer has to come back to the dealership for X amount of years, be it 3, 5, 10 years, and it's an annual service.
So let's say it's a 5-year. So for 5 years, at a bare bones minimum, there's going to be 5 more transactions that are going to happen.
5 more visits, yeah.
Right. At minimum, if there's not something else, if you're not selling tires or something that's wearable, there's still going to be a bare bones minimum of 5 more opportunities to interact with this person. Right? And that's what I think we have to look at. It's opportunities, right? I think our industry right now is not looking at them as 5 more opportunities, but we're looking at as 5 more transactions that are required and have to be done.
Yeah, agreed.
So how do we fundamentally change that thought from looking or perceiving it as a transaction and thinking of it more as an opportunity?
It all goes back to mindset and how you focus on it. Oh no, Mr. X is coming in again, as opposed to, oh, awesome, he's here again. Great to see you, Mr. X, whatever it is. And I've been speaking recently about empathy and what empathy actually is, and again, rapport building and connecting with customers. And Chris Collins, who I admire a lot, talks about rapport building and connecting with customers all the time. And it's a massive factor and a massive opportunity for people to go deeper with their customers and to remember somebody from 2 or 3 years ago that you served. And I stress the word serve because that's our responsibility, to serve customers, not just to process them, not just to call them customers. I would call them guests. It can be a very, very strong word, guest. If you don't treat them like guests in the home or treat them like a family, or like a member of your family, there's no point in calling them guests. Don't call them guests if they're just a customer and it's just an alternative word. Make sure they're actually treated like guests. You remember their name, you remember their favorite coffee, you remember their color of the car, you remember their kids' names. Like, if you've got a good memory for this kind of stuff, by all means, store it in there. But if you don't, store it in your computer. There's a massive opportunity there to store that. You see, oh, Mr. Harris is coming back in again. Oh, he's got 2 kids, he's got a dog, he's got 4 cars, he likes the snow, whatever it is. You can put that in your computer to remember it. And Mr. Harris doesn't know that you've forgotten that. But if it's in the computer, and you look at it very, very quickly and go, okay, so he's coming in tomorrow. His registration is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pop it in the computer. You go, oh, Jason, I remember him from last time. He's the guy who needed the tires. He's the guy.
But no, we have to develop a process. If we want to create a relationship, all right, with a customer, and that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about creating a relationship. Look, relationships just don't happen. Like, it's not an organic thing. You just don't organically create a relationship with someone. You intentionally create a relationship
100%.
with someone.
Our customers don't come to us for relationships. Our customers come to us to solve a problem. And it's the relationships you build in that time.
But they want to solve that problem with someone that they can trust. So I think the customer does want a relationship. They do want to create a relationship with that person because they want to be able to trust that person. If they're going to come in and my car is making this weird noise or it's having this vibration, right? They want to bring it to someone that they feel like they can trust, that person is going to not only just diagnose the problem, but also fix it in a way that's going to be most beneficial for me.
I agree with that.
I see way too many dealerships out there just replacing stuff. Like, I'm seriously, they just replace it.
I understand. I hear you.
Like, we don't actually fix. There's a lot of dealerships out there under this mentality anymore where they don't actually fix things. They just replace things, right? I hate that, but you can see it sometimes in their dollars per work order. It's just like, are we actually diagnosing things? Are we actually fixing problems? Or are we just constantly replacing stuff?
It's touch and feel sometimes, but
no.
Again, not in our network, not in our brand. We're pretty competent in that regard.
But let's talk about a process of creating a relationship. I was doing a podcast last week with another gentleman, and he was telling me the story about how he was at a restaurant and he ordered a specific drink. Okay. And a little later, obviously the drink went dry. He needed another one of those drinks, and he just grabbed someone walking by and said, "I need another drink." And that person was able to tell him, "Oh yeah, you're drinking this and this and this with rye." And he kind of looks at me and goes, "Yeah, that's exactly what I was drinking. But wait a second, you're not my waiter." But that didn't quite make sense to him, right? So of course, then he had to pry and try to figure out like what happened there. So as a part of that process at this particular bar was that when the waiter actually took the drink, the waiter actually notifies the bartender and the other wait staff that's working in that space that this is how this person takes their drink.
Clever.
I was like, wow, so that no matter what, no matter who he grabbed, all right, that person was going to know his drink. Now, talk about a process that had to be created and defined and like put through probably multiple variations of what the hell that actually looked like, right? To the point where they were able to execute that for many, many people on a super busy night. And for that experience, because that's what it was, it created an experience for him.
And how did that make you feel?
It made him feel amazing, right? So as a dealership, we have the technology, we have the ability to do this exact same thing. I think it's crazy that for a lot of dealerships, our coffee machines are these self-serve machines that are kind of over there, right? Would it be crazy to, put in the notes how the customer takes their coffee?
5 seconds to do it.
It puts notes in there, right? But it's a process. It's a process. You have to create that process.
Indeed. But it's got to be customer centric. It hasn't got to be about the dealership. It's got to be about the customer, serving the customer, making sure that the customer is looked after, and making sure ultimately that they return. The experience is so good that they tell someone else, "Wow, Jason was sensational today. He looked after me. He remembered my coffee. He remembered my car. He remembered my kids' names. He remembered that I had a dog." Like all these small 1%ers that add up to something extremely special. And I heard a quote on empathy during the week, and empathy is caring about what the people you care about care about. And it just blew me away. Empathy can be put into something that's so simple. And when you genuinely care about what you do, and you love and you're passionate about your role and the difference that you're making in people's lives and the difference you're making in the dealership, and like to just care about what Jason cares about. And that's what it's about. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard, but nobody executes on it. So, and I feel like, look, if there's not a defined process for it, then it's never going to be done. Look, you could go train a dealership till you're blue in the face to be empathetic with their customers. It will happen for a few weeks after you've left and done the training. Yeah. But if there's not a defined process in place, then it just goes out the door, right? But there has to be a defined process. And when we say process, like let's break that down. What does it actually mean, right? It has to be written, and there has to be measurable efforts to the process. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise we won't.
At the end as well.
And there has to be a goal and objective. Like, why the hell are we actually doing this? I don't think the dealerships necessarily see the value yet in putting together a process like this and taking the effort. And it's time. It does take time. Look, I'm not going to lie. I know to a service advisor, an additional 5-minute process is literally like a death sentence. Like, are you kidding me? You want me to spend 5 more freaking minutes doing something?
But the value in it at the end of the day, it might not happen. It might not happen straight away, but the ROI in it within the 12 months of that customer coming back again the following year, and they're remembered and they're cared for, and the customer understands what the process is, as opposed to some dealerships just winging it and literally making it up as they go along, and everything is reactive. Yeah. Processes, once they're formed and they're in stone and everyone follows them, it's not regimental. It flows and it's pure. And in dealerships, when it works really, really well, it's awesome to see. It just runs like clockwork, and you're like, wow, how do you guys make this happen? You do 100 cars a day, and you still make significant profit. Customers are happy. The CSI, NPS, VOC, whatever you want to call it, yeah, you're top ranking, and everyone's happy. Customers are happy. Staff are happy. Yeah, you get engagement. You get retention. and it's just awesome. And that's bliss. That's the ultimate. Not churning staff, burning them out, doing excessive hours, just because you haven't got processes in place to make things easier and make things right.
I have a theory why I think these processes are not created. Okay. And I think what it is for a lot of dealerships is that they've never defined what their why is. Okay. Look, they all know what they do. Okay. They move metal and they service cars and sell parts. Hey, see, there you go. That's a phenomenal book, by the way. I haven't read it, but I listened to it. I don't actually, I'll be honest with you, I don't read books. I only listen to books.
Same.
But when I'm on the road as much as I am, that's the only option I got. Right. That is a good book. What I was saying is that because we've never defined what our why is, then giving the how we do business a direction is just literally now like there's no opportunity there, right?
Correct.
Once we all know what we do, we all know how we do it. Now we have to define why we do it, the way we do it, so that we can give the how we do it a direction.
I agree.
And that's when things just start to change. Mm-hmm. And building out that process, now there's value. There's a reason behind it. There's a goal and objective. The goal and objective is because, we want to service the vehicle this way because we want the consumer to feel like this. We want the consumer to have an experience. We want the consumer to trust us. We want the consumer to walk away feeling like it was a good transaction. They feel good about it. You know what? Brought my car in. They serviced it. The value to money I had to spend was appropriate. And I'm walking away going, yeah, I got my money's worth. Yeah. But we don't take the time. We don't take the time to do it. Now, I do know a few dealerships that have done this, and I'm curious because you have the opportunity to be in a lot of dealerships. Now, you don't have to necessarily share the name. That's okay. But, what is it like when you've been in a dealership that has gone through the level of defining what their why is and have defined out the processes that supports their why? Do you have any examples of that?
It's a very good question. And when you talk about why, in that book, Start With Why by Simon Sinek, it's a leadership book.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about leadership. And leadership starts at the top and works its way down and also accepts feedback from the bottom up.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've got guys in the front line, day in, day out, serving customers, and I stress that, serving customers, because that's the word I like to use, serving customers, and they're frustrated with the level of organization from the top down, and the level of communication and the level of expectation and what's set out and what's not set out. And that's why we get so much churn in the industry, in my opinion, is the lack of direction, lack of leadership, lack of why, lack of purpose. Mm-hmm. From the top down. And I ask this question, I've always asked this question in terms of communication. How is X, Y, or Z, how's this message communicated to you? And they say, I get an email every single day from my manager. Kidding me? We don't email our customers. We serve our customers face to face. We communicate with them face to face. We build value in our product and services face to face. We build rapport face to face more often than not. And the lacking in communication face to face from our managers or leadership to our staff is lacking. Mm-hmm. And especially with the younger generation. I'm 34. There's a certain leadership that I chase and desire. Again, that's my value system as opposed to everyone else. Might be a little bit different, but I believe our younger generation are chasing affirmation, chasing direction, and if that's missing, if that's lacking, there's going to be knock-on effects long term. So, in terms of daily meetings, weekly meetings, goal setting, affirmation, feedback, reviews. Are you happy? What's going well? What's not going well? What can we improve? What can we innovate? And I mentioned that at the start of the conversation, that we constantly need to be innovating, not just staying the same. And the demographic of our service advisors in Australia is getting younger and younger. The 40-something is pretty rare now. However, the 40-something is the guy who has been at it for a while, is established, makes good money, has a collection of customers who only come to him because they trust him, and
they create those relationships.
Yeah, they have relationships with him, and yeah, they're falling away, unfortunately. And However, they're the ones who are going to be our future service managers. And I just hope that they're constantly developing themselves to be the future managers, reading books like Start With Why by Simon Sinek, reading emotional intelligence, reading influence, reading, again, I've got all my favorite books here because I do them as part of my course, which I'll be delivering in about an hour and a half.
Nice. Nice.
Bright and early here, and it's 7 a.m. here in Australia. I'm at work bright and early, but you can see the sunrise happening behind me.
Yeah, have you had your coffee yet? Have you had enough?
I'm not a coffee drinker, mate. I'm not a coffee drinker.
You're up this early and you're not a coffee drinker, man.
I've got 4 kids, man. I hardly slept last night.
Okay, there you go. That's true. I got 3. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's not easy. However, talk about serving. We serve them. We've got a purpose. I get up every morning to make sure that there's food on the table by the end of today to serve my family and feed my family. And
because that's the leader that you're called to be, right? And I get where you're going with this. I feel what you're putting down. Look, if we want to create this positive change, if we want to go from a culture of transaction and move into a culture of relationship, all right. The service manager, this is who we're talking to right now. Okay, all right. You are the leader of this team, of this family, this community of advisors and technicians, and so on and so forth. And it needs to come from the top down. And it's your commitment to not only creating relationships with your customers or your clients, or whatever word you want to use for it, but also your commitment to creating and developing out the relationships professionally with your technicians and your advisors. I got a great example. I had this one service manager who it's a busy service department, and we're talking busy, all right? But he does a video on his way into the dealership every single morning, okay? And by the time he gets there, he's got a very short commute, so it's not an overly long video, all right? But he created a little WhatsApp group, all right? Has all the technicians, all the advisors, all of the shuttle drivers, anybody to do, interns, tire guys, whatever it is, everybody, the entire team. And second he walks in, bam, everyone gets the video. So by the time he's already there, everyone's got that video for the
message for today.
Yeah, and it's the message of the day.
That's something different. That's awesome. I like that.
It's a hack. I mean, look, he's not having one of two things. There are many things he could have been doing on the way in, right? He could have been listening to the radio, listening to a podcast, but instead he decided to use that time. Now, of course, I help him figure out how to mount a camera properly to his car, so holding on to it and stuff like that. I gotta know how to shoot a video in a car. I think I've done a few of them. But
you can watch a few of them.
Yeah, I think
I'm inspired by a few of them, so it's great.
That's good. It's really nice to hear. But yeah, by the time he's there, it's no additional time. He just found an opportunity, all right, that would have been wasted listening to, Sportsnet or Sportsnet radio or something like that. Instead, he took 5 to 7 minutes and just created this opportunity to just let his team know, what's the temperature. He actually does a lot of weather analogies, so he loves doing that. He just this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. Hey, we had this great day. You guys see Melissa today. I got a review last night. Melissa was mentioned. Do it. Melissa, you're crushing it. Keep doing what you're doing. And then, of course, everybody gets to see that. So now everyone gets to go pat Melissa on the back for doing a great job. Yeah. We're not talking.
It multiplies his time, because if he was to say that face to face to his techs, his detailers, his advisors, his parts guys, it would take him an hour to 2 hours of his day
easily.
He's really reduced that amount of time. However, and I've been saying this recently because someone said it to me: you don't know what you don't know, and for you to come along and say, "How about this?" He'd go, "Oh no, I've never done that before," because he's always done it one way. How about we paradigm shift to go, hang on, that's an opportunity. That half an hour commute, I could actually record that video, inspire my staff, give them feedback, even send a direct video to Jason. That's how we communicated originally.
Yeah,
you sent
exactly.
A message, which is sensational. And to get that was like, oh wow, I feel special now. I feel unique and cared for. And we spoke about empathy earlier on, and that's part of it. And however, it's taken him to reach out to you or vice versa to go, you know what, there is a better way. How about this? How about this? How about this? And changing the way we do things every single day, become better tomorrow than we are today. And again, I've been the worst manager ever, and I've in previous roles, I was absolutely like, "What are you doing, Kieran?" Like when you're in your 20s, you think you made it, and you think you know everything because someone's promoted you to being parts manager, a service manager, a fixed ops manager. Great, I've made it. I now have enough level of understanding in this industry. I know it all. I've made it. And if you've got that mentality of that, I don't need to learn anymore, you're dead. You're gone. And the day you stop learning is the day you die, in
Oh,
my
for
opinion.
sure. For sure.
And I come from a family of teachers. My dad was a teacher. My mom's a teacher. Three of my siblings are teachers, and I love cars. And they said, "Why did you become a teacher? It's great holidays." And I was like, no, I love cars. So I'm going to go to the car game." And that's come around full 360. And now I'm a teacher who loves cars. So it's good. But in relation to being a manager, and I really don't like the word manager anymore. It's leadership is what it is. You're a leader.
That's really what it
And
is. It does.
you've got a
It's leadership.
responsibility. You've got a responsibility to serve your team. And the way I looked at it was making sure that all their mortgages are paid. If you've got 40 guys under you, it's your responsibility to make sure there's enough work, make sure they're happy, to make sure their mortgages are paid, to make sure that there's future work or there's enough work going forward for them. And yeah, to mentor them, to inspire them, to make sure that they're not going to bring up sick tomorrow. It's a tough gig. However,
It is a tough gig.
Effectively, to communicate with them effectively, like it's a two-way street. But you don't, if you limit yourself to the knowledge that you currently have, and that's it, I'm at this level, and the rest is kind of absorbed by luck,
Yep.
as opposed to utilizing networks like you've got, and that I'm trying to create on my own LinkedIn platform, to go, do you know what, there's a better way. And hearing your messages every now and again, hearing some of the other podcasts out there, again, I follow various different podcasts and leadership books and mentors and so forth. But there's a massive opportunity to learn from them. And I go back to that innovation from the other day, the 5 greatest innovators in the last 20 years: Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and one more technological. Who else is out there? Anyway, that's 4.
But you know what's, I look at patterns. I love patterns, right? So you're talking about leaders. These are amazing leaders, amazing innovators, right? But the one thing I find really consistent with them, I actually will call them fire starters. All right. I actually think their ability to create a fire, right, within their team that surrounds them. Because look, you have to understand, these people got to where they are because their ability to execute.
Yep.
Look, an idea is only as good as how well you can execute it. Okay, me and you could sit here and we can draw out a better version of Facebook, but it means absolutely nothing if we couldn't execute on it. And the fact of the matter is we couldn't, right? It's like, so it all comes down to execution. Why are these guys such really good executors? Because they've created a team, all right, that has a fire that drives them and pushes them when they're not even around. That's the cool thing. When these people, when you talk to the people that work underneath them, that's how I actually determine people that are super successful. Is you don't necessarily talk to them, the people that are successful. You talk to the people that are underneath them. Yeah. They'll tell you why they're successful. And when I'm talking to service managers, that's why I tell them I want them to be fire starters. All right, I want them to light that fire in their employee's belly and keep that fire lit. That is their responsibility to do so.
Absolutely.
And you touched on something which I think is super, super key that we need to talk about and needs to come out for this. We need to spend time in personal development for our team. Okay, we know what our why is. All right, we know what we do. We know how we do it, and hopefully we'd find the why. But even if we haven't, all right, we need to understand our employees' why. Why are they doing this? Why are they showing up every single morning? Yeah. You know, is it because they're trying to provide for their family? Is it because they want to take their kids on that Disney vacation? Is it because, it's because they want to buy the ring for that girlfriend, or because they want to, pay for that mortgage? Whatever their why is, we need to know that personally. And here's the kicker about knowledge. Accountability comes with knowledge. All right? The fact that you're going to know now why this person is doing what they've chosen to do is going to hold you accountable for helping them to get to that place. It's a total mind shift and change. When you know that one of your advisors is trying to move out of their mom's basement, there you go. When you know another one of your advisors ultimately wants to be a service manager, what do you do when you do that? When you have an advisor want your job, I personally, I would embrace the shit out of it. I'm like,
Absolutely, you would.
like, you want my job? Yes. Here we go.
Yes.
Let's write that out. Let's define what that's going to look like for you to get to where I am right now.
Goals and goal setting are so important. And again, I ask this to most people, whether I'm interviewing them or have them in a course. I say, 5 years from now, where is Jason going to be in 5 years?
Yep.
And they go, I don't know. I've never thought about that before. That's a certain segment of my students will say that. Some of them go, well, I've had a class of 12 people here, and 12 of them want to be service managers. I'm like, awesome, I can so work with you guys. And then you give them the formula, you give them the ideas, you inspire action in them, you tell them, well, this is going to be your next step, your next step, your next step. What are you doing in this area? What are you doing in this area? And a lot of them want to do it for the money. But there needs to be a better why than just the money, in my opinion.
Well, I think it's an okay place to start. I think it's an okay place to start. If they just want to do it for the money, I'm cool with that, right? But I think what happens is over a period of time, they're going to have to decide if this is still about the money or do they find more of their deeper purpose within it, right? Like, I have no beef whatsoever. Someone wants to come in and say, Jason, I want to make 90 grand this year. Okay, cool. All right, let me show you what that's going to look like, all right? And I'm going to, here's what is going to require of you to get to that point, right? Yeah. Here's how I'm going to help you to get to that point, okay? You follow these instructions and, we get there, right? If you don't, like, look, this is not going to be an easy thing to do. It's going to be a difficult thing to do, right? But it's like taking on the kind of more of that personal trainer approach of, it's like, absolutely. I'm going to push you, a coach, right? You know what? That's the thing. In our industry, we do a pretty decent job of training on the activities that are required to do a job, right? Like, you're a technician or you're a service advisor. We do a pretty decent job of training you on the activities that are required to do your job. But we don't necessarily coach enough on the efforts.
Yeah, and the improvements and the opportunities and the 1%ers to make sure hang on, you made this mistake today. Let's build on that and let's make sure it doesn't happen again. Fix the process, build them up, and give them an opportunity to improve. Like, you get feedback every day with the NPS, CSI to improve, and sometimes we just look at it and go, oh, damn, I got a 7 instead of a 9 or 10.
Yep.
And you blame the customer. No, look at it again and go, how did I not perform in that particular area to serve that customer to his expectations? It's not about our expectations, it's about theirs. And yeah, just thinking differently. It's something we need to work on.
It all comes down to goal and objective creation, It's just we don't, like I said, we seem to talk a lot about the activities, and we do a somewhat decent job of identifying the efforts. But if we can't attach those efforts to a goal and objective, then the requirement to make a process doesn't exist, right? Like, it's like, okay, here's where I want to go. Here's the efforts that are required to get me there. Now I have to define a process to ensure that I hit those. I don't know why. It's just like we just open our doors, the bay door goes up, people come in, and it's like and then we sit there and wonder what the hell happened.
Again, it goes back to the amount of customers that each advisor. Again, we're talking about service advisors mostly here.
Yep.
The amount of customers that a service advisor sees, somewhere between 10 and 15 is a comfortable number to form that connection, to show empathy, to build rapport. But if you're going 15 to 25, you just haven't got the time or the energy or the mind or the headspace.
Well, you got to hack it. Here's what it is. I push people. People give me that excuse all the time. I don't have time. I don't believe that. I never believe that, right? Is that you got to have to hack it. If you want to create a relationship, I got it here. I'll give you another example, another hack. I got an advisor that literally does exactly what you're talking about. Sees probably close to 20 to almost 30, all right? Like, it is all day long. Boom, 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 right? I think over a couple of years ago, she started putting packs of Skittles in each of the cars, all right? Okay. She'd go to Costco, she'd buy a pack of Skittles, all right, and just started putting Skittles in the cars. No nothing. All right. It was just, that was it. She didn't quite get enough time or quote unquote time to sit there and create a relationship. So she found a hack. All right. Mm-hmm. You know, what's funny is they would start coming back in for their service and they go, hey, who left the pack of Skittles in my car last time? Oh, that was me. Well, that was really nice. My son really appreciated that. And then another pack of Skittles and then another pack of Skittles. And then another.
I love this already, by the way.
Right, so. And it actually got to the point now where then people were coming in and said, who's the Skittle Girl? And it was just like, and then of course she started to, she worked at it, evolved the process and stuff a little bit more, but it was like her way of just trying to make a connection with someone. So this girl, by the way, is super passionate about Skittles. Like that's like one of her favorite brands. Like it is. Like she has like you will see a box of Skittles sitting on her desk all the time. Okay, she's got shirts that says Skittles. It's just something that she loves.
Well, it's interesting because again, earlier on I said it's not the customer's responsibility. Sorry, it's not yours. Sorry, it's not the customer's responsibility to remember you. It's your responsibility to make sure the customer doesn't forget you.
Yeah.
And she's a Skittles girl.
That's it. She's a Skittles girl.
Every time that the customer comes in, they go, Skittles, I'm going to you. Because it's a 1%er that show that she cared enough that every single time she put Skittles in that car.
Well, it's now her nickname. Like it's literally become her nickname. So you actually walk through the dealership, you hear Skittles. They'll call over the announcement, call for Skittles, line one, on hold for Skittles. It's hilarious.
And there's 10 people on hold for Skittles because
there's like 10
people.
Well, you know what? It was just, and of course, she had the personality and everything else, so that when she was able to spend time with them, it matched it, But it's just an example. I'm just using this as an example. I'm not telling people that are listening to this.
Really, really is.
It's just an example of someone who was super, super busy. All right, wasn't going to accept the fact that just because she was busy, she wasn't able to make a connection. And, just said, well, what is something that I can share that I really appreciate, that I really love, that I can share with them, that can over time create a connection. Skittles. Would have never thought of it.
There you go. It's a small thing, isn't it? Small thing, and the customers will definitely remember her for that.
Well, it is. Like, I think every advisor out there can do this, right? Every advisor at some level, there is time. You have to carve time. You have to make the time. You have to develop out the process, right? For her, she did it during her walk around. So it was literally, if you think about the amount of time that was required, it's 10 extra seconds to make sure that there was a bag of Skittles in the cup holder. That's it.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Good opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, so there has to be something, I remember I'm trying to think of another example. I remember this other advisor that was really pretty talented as far as kind of like cartoon type stuff, just a hobby, never a career, but a hobby. So every single copy of the work order, he'd put a little cartoon character, just saying thank you, right? And it kind of became a thing, and just, but he's super fast at it. Like it does not take, like he can put this little cartoon character on there, and he would change it up. But he could do it in less than a minute, right? And he just did it on all of his work orders, just different character, little cartoon character saying thank you, and just it changed. I remember there was a hippo one time, then it went to a platypus, and then all kinds of giraffe. I don't know. It was just his thing. He can do these things super, super fast, right? And again, it was just people were looking for it. They enjoyed it. It was just kind of it was a funny thing.
And when there's kids involved as well, and the customer's children with them, like the opportunity to connect there and just draw a cartoon very, very quickly for a kid, like you can't put a price on that. And the attention, the recommendation, the feedback via online or social or Google reviews, whatever it is. Like, I remember Jason because he did this for me. Didn't matter what you fixed on the car. It's about how they were treated, about how you made them feel. That's what it's about. And the Skittles Girl, the guy who does the cartoons, that's just innovation or hack, as you mentioned yourself.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's a massive opportunity to use a skill set or a mindset that you have to make things better and to improve customer relations and retention.
But we're only ever going to do that if it's a goal and objective for us. If we create the goal and objective of creating a relationship and trying to create a connection with our customers, we'll never sit down, because what will happen is people will listen to this or watch this video, and here's what they'll do is they'll say, well, that's a good idea. I hate when people say that's a good idea, because do you know what, when someone says that, what that actually means? Let me translate that out for you real quick. When someone says that's a good idea, what they're saying is, I won't do that, but it sounds cool, so thanks.
I'm going to use that information and park it in this part of my brain and leave it there.
The good ideas sit right back here. They don't actually ever get
possibly talk about it again, but not execute.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been there myself. And sometimes it just takes the awareness that you need to actually execute. Otherwise, all these ideas are irrelevant. And kudos to you for what you do, and you're bringing a message to the world now. 20,000 listeners worldwide. It's fantastic.
It's fun.
And the changes that you're making, the inspiration that you're giving, just those two nuggets in the last 5 minutes are going to inspire action in a service advisor somewhere to go, you know what, I've got a skill set, or I've got a massive collection of Mentos back home. I'm going to bring them in and be now be the Mentos bloke. You know, there's an opportunity there. Just think differently. And in regards to service managers and fixed operations managers, after sales managers, look for that opportunity in your staff. It's not always up to you. You've got whether you've got 5 staff or 55 staff or 110 staff. Like, you've got brains, you've got minds there that are very, very clever. It's about harnessing that energy, harnessing that knowledge and ability, and striving to make it better and striving to get the most from it. Not just using them as tools to process customers. Use them as people to connect with your customers, to retain them, make sure they come back, and to make sure that we're constantly improving, not just staying the same, because that's what customers want. Customers want how many Nokia phones do you see now? How many Blackberries do you see? You don't see them anymore because our customers want something new. The expectations of our customers 5 years ago is totally different than their expectations today. And in 5 years' time, it's going to be totally different again. Maybe they'll want more Mentos or more Skittles, or maybe they want a bigger drawing. But, you know, it's about constantly innovating to just move with the times and move with the generations. And if we don't do that now and are not aware of it or switched on about it, we're going to be left behind. And yeah, that's probably a message that I deliver to most people I come across in this industry. Constantly innovating.
That's what we're talking about, right? Like, we're talking about pushing it, okay? Like, as an industry, we need to push it. We need to create that goal and objective of wanting to innovate. We got to create that goal and objective of wanting to make a connection with another human being, because we all know at the end of the day, that's where the ROI is. There's so much ROI in connecting human to human, you know, instead of transaction to transaction. Kieran, thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me today. This was a total blast. I'm pretty confident we'll be doing this again soon. For everybody out there that's listening and watching and would love to connect with you and learn more about what you do, what is the best way to do so?
Again, LinkedIn is probably my favorite platform right now. The rest of them are irrelevant to me. But yeah, LinkedIn, again, connecting with people, common minds, common goals, common objectives. And I just love to hear people's messages and thinking differently. It's a huge world now. It's not just about 5 people you're closest to in your area. It's about the 5 people you're closest to in the world. Like, everyone's available 24/7 now. And yeah, via LinkedIn, connect with me, send me a message. Yeah, just love to hear from anyone who has got the same views and the same drives. And even if you have got the same views, please tell me why and how I can advance as well and think differently. So yeah, just like you, Jason, sensational.
It's all about making connections. Kieran, thank you so much again for taking the time to jam with me today. This was a lot of fun.
It has been. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Jason.
We covered a bunch of great topics today. What stood out most to you? Be sure to let us know in the comments section below. And don't forget to like the post and share it to keep the conversation going. You can follow Jason on all social media platforms by following Strategy with Jason. You can find him pretty well everywhere you can share content. I hope we were able to get you thinking. And until the next time, have a great day.